What's going on, you guys? My name is Julian. I'm a first year medical student at St. George University, and I'm here to tell you 5 things I wish I would have known before going to SGU. So stay tuned. Now, before I begin, I want to go ahead and introduce myself. So, my name is Julian. I'm 27 years old, and I'm from a small town in Southern Oregon, and I graduated from Southern Oregon University with a bachelor's in biology with a minor in chemistry. If you want to go ahead and know the whole details about my life, I include them in my testimony, and the link to my testimony is found below. All right, now the first thing I wish I would have known as a newly accepted SGU student was about the culture and the people. Now, coming from a very small town myself, everyone really knows everyone. People are usually really friendly where I'm from. It could be different from where you're from, but for me, in my case, everyone really knew everyone, and I just kind of always had like this sense of hospitality, as well as like being just overall just really friendly. When I came to SGU, however, I found that a lot of the people that I talked to, they didn't really respond the way that I thought. Here's an example. I would go to the local grocery store, like at IGA, and I would go ahead and go up to the cashier and say, "Oh, how's your day going?" And they would just kind of respond, "Oh, good." So they wouldn't really like give me like that feedback. "Oh, it's going great. How's yours?" So if you're used to like, people being really friendly and like really bubbly, like how I was, I'm a really big people person. Then you might not be expecting what you're looking for. So that's something to keep in mind. Of course, it's really dependent on like where you're from, but I just found overall in general, people could like be rather indifferent to you, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. It doesn't mean like they don't like you. It just means that they just have a different culture. So again, I've met a few people there on the island where they're actually really friendly, really bubbly, but overall, like I said, the overall consensus that people were just like, "Oh, okay, hi and bye," type of deal. So, number two, it's expensive to live in Grenada. Like, regardless of what people say to you, regardless of what people might think about, Grenada, and it may be possibly inexpensive. The truth is, it's not. It's fairly expensive. For example, two pillowcases and a bed sheet cost $50 US, which is to me a lot of money. So it really depends on where you're from. If you're like in a bigger like town like New York or like California, you might be used to like higher prices overall, just because those are bigger cities. But for me, again, Southern Oregon, you don't really get to see those prices be inflated that much. So please, please bring your own bedding, and really be prepared for balancing out your budget before you get to the island. The third thing I wish I would have known before going to SGU was about the cell phone service. Now, for me, I'm really big on keeping my phone number, so I was trying to figure out how I could keep my phone number while going down there. So basically, what I did with my current plan with Spectrum was to reduce to the by the gig plan. That way, it was inexpensive and I could still keep my phone number. But some people have like Verizon and AT&T, which allow for international data calls, no matter where you're at, and that works for them. That's great, but I didn't have that. I actually switched over to Mint Mobile because for me, again, I don't really use calling while I'm down there in Grenada. I don't really use like regular text messages. I have an iPhone, so usually just through iMessage. So what I did for the least amount of money was to do 6 months of cell phone service for $45 a month. And this was through Mint Mobile. So if you're looking for a really cheap data plan, very cheap way just to keep your number while you're down there, Mint Mobile is probably the way to go. But if you are like someone who needs to make phone calls all the time, back home or wherever, outside of WhatsApp, like WhatsApp's really good for that. But if you feel like you need like to actually call somebody in the United States without using WhatsApp, then you might want to look into Verizon or like AT&T, or one of these carriers down there, which is called Flow. Flow is about $40 a month, US dollars, and it gives you like 4 gigs of data and unlimited talk and text while you're on the island. So that's something that you might want to consider. There are cell phone carriers down on the island that will be able to kind of like fit your budget, and that's something that you'll be able to look into yourself when you're down there. The fourth thing I wish I would have known before going to SGU was being willing to change your study habits. Studying for biology in undergrad is a lot different than studying for medical school in medical school. And the reason why I say that is because the fact that you have roughly 10 lectures a week, and these lectures have around 50 slides on average. So if you think about it, that's like a lot of slides, and that's a lot of information that you're taking in. So the first 8 weeks of me being there at SGU, actually about the first 10 to 12 weeks, was just me like trying new methods, whiteboarding, hearing it, repeating it to myself, things like that. I had to adapt quickly and adapt efficiently so that I could be able to take the message, take the lecture, and be able to essentially memorize the material, but do it in a way where it actually sticks, not just for the exam. So be willing to change your study habits. Your first week of studying may look different, completely different from your 15th week of studying. So just be willing, be mindful of that. If you want to like see what other people are doing, great, go for it. I basically tried every study method in the book, and I finally figured out what best works for me. Now, the fifth and probably the most important thing is your grade. Everyone wants to get good grades, and basically your grade at SGU is dependent on the average of your lecture exams. One more time. Your grade at SGU is dependent on the average of your lecture exams. There's 5 total categories: professionalism, there's a lab exam, there's an OSPE exam, and then there is something called formative assessment, and then there's also 5 lecture exams. But basically the other 4 are just participation, but what really matters the most essentially is the average that you get on your lecture exams. So overall, there's a total of 761 points at SGU for your first term. 620 points are strictly on and based of your lecture exams. So the other points are basically attendance, participation, labs, and this OSPE thing. You guys will find out more about that. And basically, yes, you want to do well on those, and you want to be able to show up on those other like professionalism and like lecture participation and all that stuff. You want to be able to participate to get those points, yes, but your grade essentially is dependent on what you get on the lecture exam. So please, if you're trying to figure out, should I study for like my OSPE or should I study for my lab over your lecture exam, chances are your lecture exam is going to have a lot heavier impact than, let's say, your 25-point lab quiz. Does that make sense? I really hope it does. Alright guys, that's it for this video. I really hope you enjoyed this material and that I was able to be informative before going to SGU as a Term 1 medical student. Congratulations, you guys made it into medical school. You guys are one step closer to becoming a physician, and make sure to hit that subscribe button so that you can know when my new videos are coming out. I'm going to post new videos every month, so please hit that subscribe button, and that'd be really greatly appreciated. If you have any questions, go ahead and email me. I'll go ahead and send a link to my email down below, and please feel free to send me any messages or any questions that you might have. I'm here for you guys. Alright guys, thanks so much for tuning in. Catch you next time.